Good morning, everybody. As we go to the Chitas of today, we are holding in the book of Leviticus, chapter 18, verse number 22. And a male is not allowed to lay down with another male as a woman. The Evahu, it's an abomination. You're not allowed, no animal shall be, you're not allowed to have bestiality. But to become defiled by it. So to a woman should not lay in front of with an animal, to have relationship with table, it's a depravity. Now she says table is expression denoting prostitution, sexual immorality, and adultery. Similarly, my wrath because of their depravity, Tevilosam. Another explanation of table expression denotes mingling, bilbling, mixed up, to perverted mingling of human seed and animal seed. So table table is one depravity, ta'eva is an abomination. Don't become impure, defiled with all of these situations. Because in all these situations, the goyim, the nations of the world, became impure by it. Which I'm standing away from you, you shouldn't be depraved as other nations. And the land that they lived in became defiled. And I visited its sin upon it. And the land vomited out its inhabitants. The land itself couldn't take their abomination. You should follow my statutes, and my ordinance, and you shouldn't do for we call it te'evis from all these abominations. Whether it's you or the stranger, the convert, when it converts, for those who even live in your country. Call it te'evis because all these pravities, all these preceded, they did all these abominations. Ashalafnechem, that lived there before you, Vatit Ma'aretz, and the land became impure, defiled. Verse 28, and the land, so the land should not vomit you out, throw you out in your impurities. Ashekos Agoy, like the land throughout the nation, Ashalafnechem was before you. As it comes to compare to a prince who was fed and a dovamos, a disgusting thing, which he could not stay in his intestines. So he vomited out. Likewise, the land of Israel cannot retain transgressors and thus vomits them out. Because whoever does these abominations, and these people will be cut off in the midst of their nation. And the Fasish, she says, since the verse begins, anyone who does, it should have used the singular here. But using plural, the people doing so, it means both male and female, whether it's a man or a female, doesn't make a difference. Who is involved in these kinds of acts of immorality and bestiality, etc. You should watch my watchings. You should not commit the abominable practices that was done before you, and don't become impurified with these kind of things. I am God, your God. What does it come to tell us again? It comes to admonish the courts, that the courts the courts also need to take care of these things. Why does it try to tell us again? Well, it says Tamu Behem, we said that before. And it comes to tell us, but if you not become defiled, says God, but if you do become defiled, I'm not your God, and you'll be cut off from me. What benefit will I have from you? Moreover, you will deserve annihilation. Therefore I say, Ani Hashem Elekechem, I want a relationship with you. I want a relationship with a nation that doesn't have abominations. And that completes the first parsha, the parsha of Achrei Mois. We now go into the portion of Kedoshim. God spoke to Moshe in Israel. Speak to the Jewish people and tell them, Kedoshim to you. You should be holy. I am holy, your God. Rashi says, this passage was stated in the assemblies of the entire congregation, because most of the fundamental teachings of the Torah are dependent on this parsha. And as you'll see, that in this parsha has very important principles of the Torah. One of the most important principles is Avos Yisrael, as we'll get to it. Kedoshim to you. What does that mean? You should be holy in a very simple form. Separate yourself from sexual immorality and from sin. Wherever one finds a barrier against sexual morality, one finds holiness. For example, the Kohanim shall not take in marriage a woman who is a prostitute and who was profane. I am the Lord who sanctified you. So you see that there's some kind of connection between sanctification and the concept of separation. And he shall not profane his offspring. I am the Lord who sanctify you. So you see, they shall be holy, and they shall not marry a woman who's a prostitute. See the concept of prostitution and holiness, immorality and spirituality seemingly go together. There's some kind of concept in that. If a person has morality and separates himself from sexual sexual prohibitions, is a concept of holiness. That's what we actually call marriage, Kiddushin. Kiddushin is to be holy. So we call marriage when two people decide to have a monogamous relationship and not to have any other relationship with another person. That's called Kiddushin. And so too is with God. We decide to have a personal relationship with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's called Kiddushin, Kedoshim to you. Ish imi ve'avitiro. A man should fear his father and mother. And you should watch the Shabbos. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, I am God, your God. Rashi says, Ish imay v'avitiro, everyone shall fear his father and mother. This is the simple meaning. And the Midrash explains, as fellow, since the verse literally means every man shall fear, we know that only it applies to a man. How do we know that it applies to a woman as well? That a woman should fear, so to say, their parents. The Torah says, Tira'u, you shall fear, using a plural. Two are included in the verse, namely men and women. If so, why does it say in the verse every man? Because man has the ability to fulfill this commandment. Since he's dependent, he is independent and thus obligated to fear his parents. But a woman's busy with her children. And therefore, she's busy with her children and her husband, etc. And therefore, she doesn't have the obligation that a man has in the respect of her parents, because the Torah doesn't obligate her as the obligation of a man. Over here, the Torah puts his mother before his father. Rashi says, it's known before that a child feels his father more than his mother. And therefore, the Torah mentions his mother's first over here. And then when it comes to honoring his parents, it says that you should honor your father and your mother. Because again, it's known by God, so to say, that a child honors his mother more than his father. So therefore, the Torah puts his father there first. Over here, he puts his mother, and by the honoring, he puts his father. Why did it say Tishmeru? What's the connection between honoring your father and keeping the Shabbos? Rashi says, observing Shabbos was fearing one's father and mother in order to state the following principle. Although I have admonished you regarding the fear of your father, nevertheless, if he tells you to desecrate the Shabbos, if, God forbid, your parent tells his child, you have to honor me, and I want you to break the Shabbos, then you have to not honor them. You don't have to honor that concept. That's what the Torah says. If they tell you to break the Shabbos, you should tell them, no, I'm sorry, but I cannot do this. Ani Hashem Elokeichem, why? So now the Torah ends, I'm God your God. Where you're in plurals, for meaning that both you and your father have to honor me. So therefore, do not listen to negate my commandments. You're not allowed to say, you know what, I have to honor my parents. I'm going to break Allah. I'm going to break Jewish law. The Torah says I have to fear my parents. So now not only to honor my parents, the Torah says I have to fear my parents. So therefore, I need to break Torah law. No, you can't do that. And what constitutes fear? So therefore, there's a concept of honor, there's a concept of fear. What's fear? You're not allowed to sit in your father or mother's place. You're not allowed to speak instead when the father turns to speak. You're not allowed to contradict your parents. Like that's why kibbut aveim is a hard mitzvah. You're not allowed to contradict your parents. You know, there's a lot of more to this law. You're not allowed to tell them to do something wrong in the Torah. You're not allowed to do all things that's the opposite of fear. And what constitutes honor? One must give your father, mother food to drink. You should serve your parents. Clothe them. Put them on their shoes. Accompany them when they enter and they leave. So there's a concept of honor your parents and the concept of fear. Al tifnu, verse number 4, Al tifnu al-alilim. Do not return to worthless idols. To molten idols, you're not allowed to make for you. I'm God, your God. Rashi says alilim, to serve them. The term alilim, terms kel not, meaning the idols considered are not, alilim are nothing. The first they're nothing. You turn them eventually, and you make them into deities. This verse is understood in two separate denominations. The first, nor shall you make meaning for other people. Second, for yourself, meaning nor shall you make them for you. Now, if you say that this verse is one of the denomination, namely, that you're not going to make molten deities for yourself, but for others, you may make them. This cannot be true. Since it's already stated, you shall not have any deities in the Ten Commandments, neither your own nor others. So you're not, the Torah prohibits you to make yourself or make for others. You're not to be an idol worship maker, even though you're not going to use it for yourself. Verse number 5. When you slaughter an offering to God, the same time it should be for your own free will. Tizbachu. Rashi says, what is this pasuk in here? This pasuk is stated to teach us that the offering must be slaughtered with the intent and to be eaten within the time. Or if you think the pasuk comes to fixed time limit for eating this cannot be so because it's already stated. And this sacrifice voluntary may be eaten for 2 days. So 2 nights. So therefore, we know already that law. Therefore, the Torah teaches us that you have to have the intent that you're going to eat it in that time. The same branch is bachu. The very outset of your slaughtering, the offering, must be with the intent that it's for the purpose of causing contentment to God, as it were, for your acceptance by Him. If you think that's an invalidating thought regarding it, says God, sacrifice will not gain your acceptance before. L'tzeimchem, what means l'tzeimchem? Appeasement in French. Appeasement. Note that the spelling of crazy day will match the Italian. Okay. This is according to the simple meaning that our rabbis have ever learned from here. If somebody was involved in another activity and accidentally slaughtered, if he threw a knife in its path and slaughtered an animal designated for a holy sacrifice, it's invalid. Because of the context of the sacrifice, one must intend to slaughter it for a specific sacrifice. Verse 6, you will eat it to the day of your slaughter it, or the next day. A Torah Mishlam is allowed to eat eaten for 2 days. But if you leave it to the 3rd day, called Noisar, it shall be burned in fire. The Yames of Rashi says, when it's slaughtered, you must slaughter it in intent again. We're all talking about the intent that you will eat it within the time limit, which I've already fixed you regarding this particular sacrifice or any other sacrifice. If you're going to eat it on the third day, pigolo, it's an abomination. Lo yiratze. Not accepted. She says this, the Gemara says, if the verse does not refer to the intention of eating the sacrifice outside its time limits, since already been stated, and if on the third day any flesh sacrifice will be eaten, it's already written in Leviticus, explain here there by Rashi to refer someone who, while slaughtering the sacrifice, is intended to eat it outside the time limit. So what do we do with this verse? It must be utilized to refer to someone who, while slaughtering the sacrifice, intended to eat it outside the permitted location. Then not only if you had intent to eat it in the wrong time, but if you had intent to eat it out of Yerushalayim, which a carbon shlam you can eat in the Holy Jerusalem, if you had intent to eat it out of Yerushalayim, so now it's another negative intent. One might think if somebody eats from it, he's liable to punish a Kodesh, thus like a sacrifice slaughter within the intent, eat outside one time limit. Therefore, the Torah says that a person who eats in it shall bear sin from it, but not from anything like it. This excludes the punishment of Kodesh, a sacrifice slaughtered with the intent of eating outside its time. So only if you had intent, becomes nice, it becomes pigel. But if you ate it, that's a different thing. Now you get Kodesh. Pigel, what means pigel? It's an abomination. Pigel, abomination, like the broth of an abomination. Pigule. Whoever eats from a sacrifice, out of its time, out of its place, out of its intent, he carries the sin. Yes, Kodesh Hashem Chila, because he profaned the holiness of God. That person shall be cut off. She says, over here the Torah is not talking about an intent, over here the Torah is talking when you ate it actually. Scripture referring to a sacrifice actually left over, past the time limit. But one is not punishable for the case where the sacrifice slaughtered with the intent of eating it outside its permitted location. For Scripture has already excluded this case from punishment of Kodesh. Kodesh is only not if I had intent, the wrong intent. Kodesh is only if I had the wrong intent and I ate it. Or if I left over the sacrifice after to this shlomim, after the third day, and I ate it intentionally, not unintentionally. So that I have Kodesh, that's only. We learn through the Gezeidah Shabbat, the rabbinical tradition linked to the word Kodesh, the verse on Exodus, a lot of dealing with actual nicer, that if I actually kept something over and I ate it, that is considered eating from prohibited sacrifice. But intention alone is a negative commandment. If I had the wrong intention, but I didn't eat it ultimately, I ate it in time. So my intention is not, I don't get Kodesh for my intention. I get Kodesh from an actual deed. I ate the sacrifice out of its time. Verse 9. When you reap the harvest of your land, you should not reap the corners of your land. Let's say to cut it off. The leket, and you're gathering, for the gathering of your gleaning, you should not. Here we're going to get the law of the laws of leket, shikha, and peah. Leket, shikha, and peah, three things that a farmer has to leave charity. So leischala, this is peah. Leischala pasotcha, meaning that one should leave the corner. Peah. Peah is the corner of the edge of his field. How much is the corner? We don't have there's no number to the corner. You leave one stalk, you leave 100 stalks. The leket tzircha, this is the law of leket, refers to individual stalks that fall down in the time of harvest. How many stalks are considered leket? 1 or 2. 3, however, do not constitute leket. The owner may gather them himself. So if the stalk falls down, 1 stalk, the owner sees that a stalk has fallen down, leave it. 2 stalks, leave it. 3 stalks, he can take it. Now we have shikha karma chaleisayil. You should not glean your vineyard, nor should you collect the fallen individual grapes of your vine. You should leave them for the poor and the stranger. Meaning you shall not take small clusters there and thereby, and these are identifiable. Which clusters are oila? Any which is neither peit of a shoulder or not of a dripping. It, individual grapes must fall off at the time of vintage. So that's shikha. Like at shikha and peah. There's three things that you have to leave the corners of your field. If something dropped before you took it, you leave it. If something you left over a few, well, you shikha, you forgot, you leave it. And here Hashem Elokecha says, the judge exacts punishment for this sin. I'll exact from you nothing less than your soul. I take souls. It says, do not rob from a poor man, and it will plead to me, because you rob those who robbed his life. So therefore, it's not worth a couple leave for the poor. Your life is more important than sufferings. Verse 11, Lo signev, don't steal. Lo sachakshu, don't deny things. Lo shakru, don't lie. Ish bad misay, one of his fellow man. That's over here, this Lo signev, don't steal, is money. So this is prohibition, anyone steals money. Well, do not steal in the Ten Commandments, that's telling about, that's kidnapping. That's not stealing money. The Ten Commandments is not stealing money. As a matter is right for the concept name, you shall not murder, do not commit adultery. So that's a capital crime. So the Ten Commandments is a capital crime. And therefore, when it says there's no capital punishment for stealing. Therefore, we're talking in the Ten Commandments about the concept of taking a human being as a captive, kidnapping. And over here, the Torah is talking about money. Religious action, do not deny falsely. That is saying, and he denies it, he must pay the principal and the additional fifth of the value. We know that the punishment involved, but where do we find the warning? And over here, we find the warning. I mean, if somebody lies, he swears, he makes a vow, and he lies, pay double sometimes, 3 times the amount, etc. Do not lie. Where the Torah says, the Torah already said, it says, if somebody swears falsely, lies with a vow, then he must pay back the principal and a fifth of its value. We know the punishment, but how do we know the warning? So here you have the warning. So we're talking about, in essence, a person that lied under the oath, really, and they leisignevu, you should not steal. So we have 3 things: not steal, you should not deny falsely, you should not lie. Rashi said, because if you steal, you'll eventually come to deny, and consequently, they'll make you make a vow, and you'll vow falsely. So the best thing is start from beginning. Leisignevu, don't steal. You won't steal, you won't have to deny. You won't have to deny, you won't have to even say, you won't also make a vow in vain. Do not swear falsely in my names. Because by swearing my name falsely, you're profaning my name. And Hashem, I'm God. Why is it stated? Since it says you should not take the name of God in vain, one might think that a person is liable only regarding a special name, tetragram, so to say. How do we know that it includes also the prohibition of kinuyin, the other names of God? Therefore, it says, do not say any name that I have. Not only in the name of Yud Kei Vav Kei, but if you say in the name of Elikim, in the name of any other names, that the 7 names of God is considered a vow in God's name. Verse 13, do not oppress your fellow. Do not rob him. The hired worker wage shall not remain with you overnight. Adbaik until the morning. And hold wages of your employee. Rashi says this is the first one who holds hired workers' wages. You're not a verb of feminine gender, really poelas. It's you should not keep it overnight, meaning command of a second person masculine, since it always appears to be And okay, this is grammar. Let's go further. I said the verse is speaking about a worker hired for the day who departed for his work at sunset. Therefore, the time for his collect his wages is the entire night, and the employer has till dawn to pay. But elsewhere, Torah says, "Shall give the wages his day, and not let the sun set over it," which teaches, it seems to contradict our verse. However, that verse is speaking about a worker who is hired for the night, and the completion of that work is the break of dawn. Therefore, the time taken to collect his wages is the entire day. So a guy who works at night, you need to pay him by the end of the day. A guy who works by day, you need to pay him by the end of the night. Verse 14. You're not allowed to curse a deaf person. And you're not allowed to place a stumbling block before a blind person. You shall fear God and Yasha. Ashi says, Torah says you're not allowed to curse a deaf person. I don't even know you're not allowed to curse a deaf person. How do we know that this includes every person? If the Torah says you should not curse, it says later, you should not curse amongst your people. If so, why is the law not excluded for the deaf person? Why does it say here a deaf person? It could have been included in the verse that talks about in general. You shouldn't curse anybody. Answer is just like a deaf person is a special insofar as he is alive. Likewise, one is prohibited from cursing anyone who is alive. This includes cursing a dead person who is not alive. So the deaf person, you might think, what's the difference between a deaf person and a dead person? He cannot hear you. So why is a deaf person? Why can't I curse a deaf person? He doesn't hear my curses. So the answer is because he's alive. You're not allowed to curse anybody that's alive. Even though you might say the deaf person doesn't hear me, so what's the difference to him? You're not allowed to curse a person that is alive. But evil is sit and Mitchell before a person who's blind. What do you mean blind? Only blind person? It means a person that's blind to this matter. If you know somebody doesn't know what's going on in a certain project, you can't say, you know what? He doesn't know anyway, so I'll just fool him. You should not give him advice that is improper for him. For instance, don't say to somebody, sell your field and buy a donkey with the proceeds. While in truth, your plan is to cheat him, since you yourself would take from him by lending him the money and take the donkey in collateral. You will not be able to take the field because previous creditors has lien on it. So therefore, don't try to lie to people. And why is this mentioned here? Because the matter of the misadvising somebody is not discernible by people. How do people know that you tricked them? How do you know people know that you told them to buy something that is going to fail? Whether the person had good, evil intentions. You might say, I had good intentions. I didn't know that it's going to flop. And it can avoid being, saying, I meant well. So therefore, I meant well. I'm sorry, my advice was lousy. But I meant well. Therefore, concerning it says, you shall fear God. That's what the Torah says, fear the Eibishter. Because I know if your intentions were to hurt the guy or to help the person. So therefore, the Torah says, you shall fear God, who knows your thoughts. Likewise, concerning anything known, the one who does it, but in which no one else knows about it, Torah says, you shall fear. And that concludes the Chumash for today. We now go to the Tanya of the day. The middle of chapter 44. Rebbe now goes on to say, although the two above mentioned loves, my love, and like a son, are naturally found in the Jewish soul, deriving as they do from the patriarchs, right? Still, when they are in the revealed state, of one's heart, are able to elevate the Torah mitzvahs as a result of them, as we enter into the world of Bria, Only when natural love remains concealed in the mind, is restricted to elevate the Torah mitzvahs to no higher than the world of Yetzirah. When, however, its revealed state, they are elevated to the world of Bria. But while it's true that these loves are natural, in order for them to be revealed, there must be a profound contemplation on them, on the theme of God, our true Father, and the source of our life. Such contemplation gives this natural love additional qualities traits achieved by the intellectual love. So that the Torah and mitzvahs which result from this love are elevated to the world of Bria, the world of knowledge, and this is now going to be the. We are a little bit Kabbalistic. It says these two categories of love, which means that of my soul, the love that a Jew feels for God upon realizing that he is a true life, and that which is like a son loving his father, loving God as one's true father. So there's a concept of a love that comes through like a servant understands that he's the boss, he's the master, but like a child has a natural instinct to love his parents. Even though they're inherited, they were given to us as an inheritance from our father. It's like a natural instinct in our soul. And so too, a natural instinct is a fear that is comprised in them. Because he has his fear from be sundered for God forbid. The source of our life. And our true Father, so to say, blessed be he. So that's a natural thing. Nobody wants to be cut off from his parents. Nobody wants to be cut off from God. That's our nature. You might not feel it, but that is the truth. When one feels that God is a true source of his life, he will fear to transgress, but not to become separate from the source of his life. Feeling of God, being one's true Father, will likewise keep him from sinning. So in essence, we have two things to contemplate, as he mentioned before. We can contemplate on the concept that God's our life, and who wants to be cut off from life. Or we can contemplate that God's our creator, our Father. Created like our Father created us. Our father, mother created us. Titus says today, to be your parents, because they created you. So you don't want to be torn away from your father. Although both the fundamental degrees of love and fear are instinctively found within a Jew. You cannot live with a subconscious love and fear. You cannot consider that you have a love of God because you have an Avim status. You can't say, I love God because I have an instinct love. That's not the way it works. The way it works is that you have to reveal this love. At least in your mind. You have to bring it out in your mind. You need to be able to bring it out in your through your. I'm sorry, they are nevertheless not termed natural fear or love unless they've been found in the mind and thought alone, in the latency of his heart. Then they're in a place, then at least you'll bring up the love of God and the mitzvah, through the mitzvah you do to the 10 spheres of the world of formation. Because that's the level of the natural emotions. That's where your natural emotions come from. And there you will rise up with them through your love of God in your mind and the fear of God in your heart. You'll bring up the Torah mitzvahs to the world of Yetzirah, which they have been inspired and caused that you should have these concepts in this world. So these levels of love are, of course, of the performance of one's Torah mitzvahs, for they result from the portrayal of this love in his mind. They come from that place. They come from the world of emanation, from the world of formation, world of Yetzirah. As I've explained before, the world of Yetzirah, the world of formation, is the world of emotion. When the 2 degrees of love, are manifest in the state of the heart as a result of contemplation, they are called in Zayar Ru'usa Deliba. But when you can truly awaken your heart, even intellectually, that through your intellect you can mamish have Ru'usa Deliba, means the heart's desire, a more exalted love than just this natural love, this subconscious love. I'm going to create a conscious love. Through my meditation, I'm going to create a conscious love. Then you're going to reach up to your spheres de bria. Then you'll reach up your places in the 10 spheres of the world of creation. Then you'll bring them up to that place. You'll bring them up to the place of bria. You'll elevate them to the world of creation. Which comes through your contemplation, my contemplation. And the reason for this is indeed so. Notwithstanding the fact that they are natural, found in the soul of every Jew, is now given. Because how do they come out in my heart? How do they emerge from my heart to be revealed? It came through my contemplation. It was revealed through my dat. The dat is big in this word over here. My dat, which is my knowledge, meaning through the powerful fixation of my mind and the intense concentration. With chayzek, with bonus atzuma, from the depth of my heart. Yativ v'tadit, powerfully and frequently. That ain't say Baruch Hu in my meditation in God. How God is my life. I need to meditate on it. The more I meditate on this concept, the more I reveal it within myself. Avinu Amiti Baruch Hu. That is the source of my life. And so to say, we have one Father in heaven. And since this contemplation is so powerful indeed, moreover, but it's written in Tikkunim. Tikkunim is a Zohar. That in the world of Bria, the world of creation, nests the supernal mother, meaning the level of Bina of Atzilus, which in man's spiritual service is the contemplation of the infinite light of blessed and safe, the giver of life, blessed be He. So again, as Alter Rebbe explained, that everything that I do in this world has an effect in the upper worlds. I might not see it, I might not feel it, but that's what's happening. Everything that I do in this world, if I have an natural emotional connection to God, I'm working on my subconscious, I'm just working on my autopilot connection to God, then I connect to the world of emotions, and that's the world of Yitzhak. If I can go deeper, and I don't work on autopilot, but I actually work on my thoughts, and I create a love of God, and I wake it up within me through contemplation and meditation and other work, and it takes a lot of effort, but then I reach up to a higher level above, and I reach up to the world of Bria. The world of Bria is the world of understanding. Where does that world receive its energy from? That's what the Kabbalah said over here. You receive it from the supernal mother, which is what's the supernal mother? Is Bina of the world of Atzilus. That's a supernal mother. Just giving it names. The supernal father in the world of Atzilus is Chachma. The supernal mother, so terminology in the Zohar, is Bina. So Bina, understanding, resides. And Bina, the understanding of the world of emanation, resides in the world of creation. That's why it's the world of the Talmud, as we learned. Because in that world is the world of understanding. And that's why tzaddikim that understand, they serve God through understanding, they reside in the world of understanding. We have the capability, we're not tzaddikim, we have the capability to affect the world, the world of Bria. That's why I said once before that on Shabbos, all the Shabbos go to the world of Bria. Even though their service of God in their day-to-day life might have been more in the world of formation, because they were more emotionally, or even the world of action. But since they had once in a while the concept of understanding, maybe not on a constant basis, but they had once in a while a meditative moment where they awakened up their hearts to love God because they understood what they're doing. But therefore, ultimately, they do affect the world of Bria. They are connected to a higher world, the world of creation. Yamayim Eliyahu, as Eliyahu Navi said, say this every Friday, Bina Liba Obalev. Bina is the heart, and within it, the heart understands. It means to say that meditation and understanding takes place in the mind. In the mind illuminated the heart. Since contemplation of God is related to the world of Bria, world of creation, the world which is illuminated by the Bina, by the understanding of Atzilus, Ema Ilah. Ema Ilah. Understanding of the world of emanation comes into the world of creation. It follows various forms of love, which are revealed through such contemplation, have their place in that world as well. And it is there that they elevate one's Torah mitzvahs. So even though I'm not a tzaddik, I still have the capability to, through my contemplation, to connect to a higher world. That's how the Rebbe explains. The Rebbe now goes on to say that the two kinds of love, my love and like a son, not only have the quality of love that results from contemplation, but they also have the quality of avarab, a love that granted from above. Rebbe wants to tell every Jew that even though maybe you'll never reach up to the ultimate ava, to the Eibishter, it doesn't make a difference. Everything is interconnected. So even if you reach up to Avas Olam, the highest level of Avas Olam, love of God through your contemplation, within it, there is Avarab. There is a true love. There is a love of the light. For they too are granted from above, in so much that a Jew inherits them from the patriarchs explained. The Alter Rebbe says, even though it's not revealed this Avarab, this true delight of God, every Jew has a delight. That's an inherited concept. So therefore, within everything I do, even if I do it in a way where it's only through my contemplation, where it's very limited, it's the highest concept to my understanding, but within it, there is this avarabba, there is this great love. Since these two kinds of love possess all these qualities, it would seem that they should suffice, and the love born wholly of intellect is superfluous. Nevertheless, the Alter Rebbe concludes that a Jew should always strive to attain the love that results wholly from contemplation of God's greatness because of the reason he'll soon see. So again, even though the Alter Rebbe goes backwards and forwards, even though everyone has true love, so why I care about my contemplation? No, because everything has its place. And contemplation is important, and the true love is important, and we need both of them. Furthermore, these two categories of love that I referred to above, the love of my soul and the love of like a son, incorporate a quality of love which is greater and more sublime than the intelligence of fear and love, the kind that result from contemplating God's greatness. The love term by Avas Olam that we just explained. These two kinds of love also pertain the quality of Avarabba, which is loftier than Avas. The Rebbe explains that Avarabba is rooted in Atzilus, which is far superior to Bria, where Avas Olam is rooted. So Avas Olam is rooted in the world of Bria because that's the world of understanding. That's why it's Ava Salem. So Ava, that's rooted in the concept of understanding. But Ava Rabba, the love of Tainug is rooted in the world of Atzilus. It's not about understanding. It's a delight. Tainug. It's like a desire. You cannot give a reason to a desire. It's higher than reason. But the Rebbe alludes to this by saying furthermore, meaning that these loves not only have qualities of natural love and intellectual love found in the world of Yitzira and Bria, respectively, but they also have the quality of the love of Avarabba found in the world of Atzilus. Now Alter Rebbe does explain to us that there's three loves. There's a love that comes from Tainug, delight in God. There's a love that comes from contemplation. And there's a love that comes from natural love and instinct love. Instinctual love. Each one of these, emotional love. So each one of these come from different worlds. In the world of Atzilus, the world of emanation, comes a delight. Tainug. Delight. The world of Bria, for the world of creation, comes the love that comes from intellect. And from the world of Yitzira, the world of formation, comes from the instinct love that we have, Ava. Because that's the world of love and awness, fear, etc. So that's an instinct. The Eibishter gave us certain instincts. That's where the Yerusha is inherited to us. We have certain instincts. So Avram Avinu gave us Ava, and Yitzchak Avinu gave us the Yira, and Yaakov Avinu gave us Tiferes. These are instinctive things. And the question is, how high can I bring up how high can I develop my love? Can I have the love based on instinct? That's sort of like autopilot or something that I have. Can I have a love that's based on my intellect? Can I reach up to a love that is based on Tainug, on my true delight? And the Alter Rebbe just said the truth is, and in any way I do things, are all interconnected. Because Atzilus is connected to Bria, and Bria is connected to Yitzira. They're all interconnected. And the truth is that in any level I do my love, I have all three in it. Some of them, the question is, what is more revealed in my love? Is it more revealed a Tainug, of a tzaddik, a great tzaddik, that God gave me Tainug in godliness, so I've reached up to the level of Tainug? Or do I have an intellectual love? Or do I have just a instinctual love to God? Irrelevant. It's all interconnected. This tremendous quality, notwithstanding, the Alter Rebbe concludes that it's necessary to achieve the love brought about only through contemplation. For this love is unique in its passion and its yearning for God. Alter Rebbe is explaining the middle love. The love of contemplation is the most important to us. And even to a tzaddik, needs to have contemplation, because that's avodah. In the two other loves, the love of time and delight is given to you as a gift. The love of instinct was given to you also by your parents, by Avram Avinu. The love of thought is yours. The love of thought is something I myself have created. It's not something that was given to my parents, my great-grandparents, Abraham. It's not something that was given to me by God. It's something that's given to me by my mind. And that's an important love, as Alter Rebbe says. That's an extremely important concept. That a person does it, whether he's a tzaddik, whether he's not a tzaddik, that he does something because of his own mind. It's his own free choice. That's where you have your free choice, is in your mind. So even though you have all of these things, when you do something with machshava, you might think you do something with your mind, but ultimately you're doing it because you have an instinct love. And you're doing it, and you might receive, and you have within also a delight of God. But really, you're doing it because it's in your mind. Because I have decided to think about God, contemplate on, meditate on, with my thought, with my mind, not with your mind, not with somebody else's mind, but with my own mind. And that's going to be a beautiful thing that the Alter Rebbe is going to bring out in the next day. And but over here, the Tanya ends today. That's the completion of Tanya. Will Mitzvah continue Mitzvah tomorrow? Tanya. But today is the 5th day of the month, which is chapter in your Tillim in Psalms is chapter 29 through chapter 30. Chapter 29 through chapter 34. If you do those chapters, you will have done Kitas of the day. I wish you all a wonderful, beautiful, and happy and healthy